Close your eyes and imagine the world's most perfect predator. No legs to slow it down. No eyelids to blink at the crucial moment. A body that flows like liquid death through any terrain. A tongue that tastes fear in the air. This is the snake. And today, we're going to uncover the incredible 150 million year story of how these mysterious creatures conquered our planet. Nearly 4,000 species of snakes live on our planet today. These scaly, legless reptiles inhabit every continent besides Antarctica, adapting to an incredible range of climates and habitats. From the icy mountains of Tibet to the scorching deserts of Australia, from tropical rainforests to suburban backyards, snakes are some of the world's most colorful, innovative, and sometimes dangerous predators. But here's what might surprise you. Snake species weren't always as diverse and sophisticated as they are today. The cobra's deadly venom, the python's crushing coils, the rattlesnake's warning sound, none of these existed when dinosaurs ruled the earth. So how did a small, unremarkable lizard transform into one of nature's most successful hunters? How? Did creatures without arms or legs become masters of movement? And what can their incredible journey teach us about survival, adaptation, and the power of evolution itself? This is the story of the serpent's journey, a tale of survival against impossible odds, of innovation born from necessity, and of ancient creatures that continue to thrive in our modern world. Chapter 1. The Ancient World. Story begins in a world so alien, it might as well be another planet. Picture Earth 160 million years ago, during the late Jurassic period. The continents we know today are still locked together in the supercontinent Pangaea, slowly beginning to drift apart. The climate is warm and humid everywhere. There are no ice caps, no frozen poles, just endless summer stretching from north to south. This is the age of giants. Massive sauropod dinosaurs, some weighing as much as 12 elephants, shake the ground with every step. Allosaurus, the apex predator of its time, stalks through fern forests that stretch beyond the horizon. In the skies, pterosaurs with wingspans, wider than school buses, cast shadows over vast inland seas. But our story doesn't begin with these giants. Instead, we need to look closer, much closer, to the forest floor, where tiny creatures scurry through the undergrowth, largely unnoticed by the monsters above. These are the early lizards, small and unremarkable, no bigger than your hand. They hunt insects and worms, hide in burrows, and try to avoid becoming someone else's meal. Meet the ancestors of snakes, creatures that, at this moment in time, look nothing like the serpents we know today. They have 4 functional legs, movable eyelids, and external ears. They're covered in small, overlapping scales, and they move with the quick, darting motions typical of modern lizards. But something interesting is happening in their environment. The forests of the Mesozoic are incredibly dense. Fallen logs, twisted roots, thick undergrowth, and tangled vegetation create a maze of narrow passages and tight spaces. For these small lizards, navigating this obstacle course is a daily challenge. And it's about to become the driving force behind one of evolution's most remarkable transformations. You see, in this crowded forest world, the lizards that could squeeze through the tightest spaces had access to prey that others couldn't reach. They could escape predators by diving into crevices too narrow for larger hunters. They could hunt in microenvironments where insects and worms were abundant, but competitors were few. Natural selection began to favor lizards with longer, more flexible bodies. Those with shorter legs could fit through smaller spaces. Generation after generation, the most successful individuals were those that could navigate the forest floor like living rope, flowing around obstacles rather than climbing over them. This wasn't a sudden transformation. Evolution doesn't work that way. We're talking about changes that occurred over millions of years. Tiny modifications passed down through countless generations. A slightly longer spine here, a marginally shorter leg there, bones that were just a fraction more flexible. And remarkably, we can trace this transformation in the fossil record. Paleontologists have discovered dozens of transitional species that show us exactly how this incredible journey unfolded. These aren't missing links. They're snapshots of evolution in action, frozen in stone and waiting to tell their stories. Chapter 2. The first aestheps long before there were giant pythons or venomous cobras. The ancestors of snakes were small, unremarkable lizards living in dense forests across the southern hemisphere. These primitive creatures inhabited a world that was dramatically different from today, a world where the very shape of the continents was changing. During the late Jurassic and early Cretaceous periods, roughly 160 to 100 million years ago, the supercontinent Pangaea was breaking apart. As massive landmasses separated and oceans rushed in to fill the gaps, new coastlines formed, and isolated populations of animals found themselves cut off from their relatives. In the lush ecosystems of these newly formed continents, small lizards faced unique challenges. The forest floor was a labyrinth of fallen logs, twisted roots, and dense undergrowth. Prey animals, insects, worms, and small vertebrates often hid in spaces too narrow for traditional lizard anatomy to access. Picture a small lizard, about the size of a gecko, trying to pursue a juicy worm that has retreated into a narrow crevice between two rocks. The lizard's legs keep getting caught obstacles. Its rigid body can't bend enough to follow the worm's path. By the time it finds a way around the obstruction, the prey has vanished. Now imagine another lizard, one that's slightly longer, slightly more flexible, with legs that are just a bit shorter. This individual can squeeze into spaces that its cousin cannot. It can twist and bend its body to follow prey through complex pathways. It has access to food sources that other lizards simply cannot reach. Over thousands of generations, natural selection favored the more flexible individuals. Those with longer, more serpentine bodies were more successful hunters. They had better access to food, which meant they were healthier, lived longer, and produced more offspring. The changes were subtle at first. Vertebrae became more numerous and more flexible. The rib cage elongated, providing more space for internal organs while maintaining the body's flexibility. The shoulder and hip girdles, the bone structures that connect the limbs to the spine, began to shrink and simplify. This brings us to one of the most remarkable fossil discoveries in recent paleontological history, Najash rheonegrina, discovered in Argentina in 2006. Najash represents a crucial moment in snake evolution, a creature that had clearly embarked on the serpentine path, but still retained many of its lizard-like characteristics. Najash was about 3 feet long, with a flexible, elongated body, perfectly adapted for navigating through tight spaces. Its skull had already begun to develop the modifications that would become characteristic of snakes. Jaws that could open wider than those of typical lizards, teeth designed for gripping rather than chewing. But perhaps most remarkably, Najash still had functional hind legs. These weren't vestigial remnants. They were small but fully formed limbs, complete with all the necessary bones, joints, and muscle attachment points. However, these legs were proportionally much smaller than those of typical lizards, suggesting they were no longer the primary means of locomotion. How did Najash move? Recent biomechanical studies suggest it used a combination of serpentine undulation and leg-assisted propulsion. The main driving force came from the muscular undulations of its elongated body, while the hind legs provided additional grip and stability, particularly when navigating complex terrain or pursuing elusive prey. This hybrid locomotion system gave Najash significant advantages in its forest environment. It could pursue prey through narrow tunnels and dense vegetation with the efficiency of a snake, but still use its legs for specialized tasks like climbing, digging, or maintaining balance on uneven surfaces. Chapter 3. Losing the limbs, the most dramatic aspect of snake evolution. The complete loss of limbs didn't happen overnight. It's a common misconception that snakes suddenly lost all 4 of their limbs from neglect or disuse. Instead, this evolutionary process happened gradually over millions of years due to natural selection, unfolding in stages that we can actually identify within the fossil record. To understand how snakes lost their limbs, we need to dive into the fascinating world of developmental biology. Every animal that has ever lived develops according to instructions encoded in its DNA. These genetic blueprints don't just determine what an animal looks like. They control how it develops from a single cell into a complex organism. The key players in this process are called Hox genes, master control genes that determine the basic body plan of all vertebrates. In most animals, specific Hox genes are responsible for developing limbs at precise locations along the body axis. But in snakes, something remarkable happened. These limb-building genes were gradually turned off. When we examine snake embryos under powerful microscopes, we can actually see the ghostly remnants of this ancient program. In the earliest stages of development, tiny limb buds begin to form, just as they do in lizards and other reptiles. But instead of continuing to grow into functional limbs, these buds quickly disappear, reabsorbed by the developing embryo. The fossil record beautifully documents this gradual process. Most basal snakes lost their forelimbs long before their hind limbs. This makes perfect evolutionary sense when you consider the biomechanics of serpentine locomotion. Front legs would actually interfere with the wave-like movements that snakes used to propel themselves forward. Another ancient species belonged to the genus Pachyrhachis, which dates back to roughly 98 million years ago. Fossils of Pachyrhachis were first discovered among marine limestone deposits in Lebanon, suggesting that it lived at least part of its life underwater, making it one of the earliest known semi-aquatic snakes. Like Najash, Pachyrhachis was a transitional species possessing some lizard-like characteristics, including a pair of hind limbs. However, in the case of Pachyrhachis, these limbs were significantly less functional than those of Najash. They were smaller, with simplified bone structures and reduced muscle attachment points. Computer models of Pachyrhachis locomotion suggest that its hind limbs were probably too small and weak to provide meaningful propulsion on land. Instead, they may have served as rudders or stabilizers during swimming, helping the animal maneuver through ancient marine environments. The world that Pachyrhachis inhabited was dramatically different from today. The Mediterranean region was covered by a warm, shallow sea teeming with marine life. Massive marine reptiles like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs ruled the open waters, while smaller creatures like Pachyrhachis likely hunted in coastal shallows and tidal pools. Over millions of years, the hind limbs of basal snakes continued to shrink and simplify. In some lineages, they disappeared entirely. In others, they persisted as tiny vestigial structures with no apparent function beyond evolutionary memory. In fact, evidence of these vestigial hind limbs can still be found in modern boas and pythons, which retain internal remnants of pelvic bones, along with small external spurs near the back of their body. These little structures may not look like much to the casual observer, but to evolutionary biologists, they're treasure troves of information about snake ancestry. If you've ever had the opportunity to examine a large python up close, you might notice these spurs, tiny claw-like projections located on either side of the vent. Male pythons actually use these spurs during mating, grasping the female to maintain position during copulation. X-ray imaging reveals that these external spurs are supported by internal bone structures, remnants of the femur, tibia, and other leg bones that once formed functional limbs in the ancestors of these snakes. It's a remarkable example of how evolution never truly erases the past. It simply builds upon it. Modern genetic analysis has confirmed what the fossil record suggested. The genes responsible for limb development are still present in snake DNA, but they've been switched off by regulatory mechanisms that evolved over millions of years. In rare cases, these genes can be accidentally reactivated, resulting in snakes born with tiny vestigial legs, living proof of their evolutionary heritage. Chapter 4. The Great Day. By the end of the Cretaceous period, snakes were becoming more advanced and sophisticated, carving out ecological niches as potent prehistoric hunters. But 66 million years ago, the world was about to be rocked by one of the most devastating events in Earth's history, an extinction event so catastrophic that it would reshape life on our planet forever. The Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction, also known as the KPG extinction, began when a massive asteroid, roughly 6 miles in diameter, slammed into what is now the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico at a speed of about 43,000 miles per hour. The impact released energy equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs, instantly vaporizing rock and creating a crater more than 100 miles across. But the initial impact was just the beginning. The collision hurled billions of tons of rock, dust, and debris into the atmosphere, blocking out sunlight across the entire planet. Massive tsunamis, some reaching heights of several hundred feet, swept across continents. Global wildfires raged as burning debris rained down from the sky. Within months, Earth's climate had changed dramatically. The dust and debris in the atmosphere blocked so much sunlight that global temperatures plummeted. Photosynthesis virtually stopped, causing the collapse of food chains from the bottom up. It was a global ecological catastrophe that wiped out approximately 75% of all species on Earth. The most famous victims of this extinction were the non-avian dinosaurs. After ruling the Earth for over 160 million years, these magnificent creatures simply vanished from the fossil record. The massive sauropods, the fearsome theropods, the armored herbivores, all gone in what amounts to a geological instant. But dinosaurs weren't the only casualties. Marine reptiles like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs disappeared from the oceans. Flying reptiles called pterosaurs vanished from the skies. Many plant species went extinct, along with countless insects. Fish and marine invertebrates died. So how did snakes survive when so many other reptile groups perished? The answer lies in their unique adaptations and lifestyle. Unlike many of the large reptiles that went extinct, snakes had several crucial advantages that helped them weather this global catastrophe. First, snakes are ectothermic, meaning they rely on external heat sources to regulate their body temperature. This gives them incredibly low metabolic requirements compared to warm-blooded animals. A snake can survive for months without eating, a crucial advantage when food becomes scarce. Second, many snakes lived in naturally sheltered habitats. They made their homes in burrows, under logs, in rock crevices, and in other protected spaces that shielded them from the immediate effects of the impact. When the sky was raining fire and the surface world was burning, snakes were safely underground. Third, most early snakes were relatively small animals. While giant dinosaurs needed enormous amounts of food to sustain their massive bodies, snakes could survive on much smaller prey items. When large animals went extinct and ecosystems collapsed, snakes could still find enough insects, worms, and other small creatures to sustain themselves. Fourth, snakes were opportunistic generalists. Unlike specialized predators that depended on specific prey species, snakes could adapt their diet to whatever food sources remained available. This flexibility was crucial during the chaotic aftermath of the extinction event, the world that emerged after the KPG extinction was very different from the one that came before. The age of giant reptiles was over. The ecological niches once occupied by dinosaurs and other extinct groups were now vacant, waiting to be filled by the survivors. Mammals, which had spent the entire Mesozoic era as small, nocturnal creatures, living in the shadows of dinosaurs, suddenly found themselves in a world full of opportunities. They rapidly diversified, eventually giving rise to everything from tiny shrews to massive whales. The mammals weren't the only group to benefit from the post-extinction world. Snakes also began to diversify and expand into new ecological roles. Without large predatory dinosaurs to compete with, and with abundant small mammals to prey upon, snakes entered a golden age of evolution and expansion. Chapter 5. The Age of Giants. In this new era following the Great Extinction, life on Earth was about to witness something extraordinary. The climate during the Paleocene epoch was dramatically different from today, much warmer and more humid. There were no ice caps at the poles, no frozen tundra, no temperate forests. Instead, tropical rainforests stretched from the Arctic to the Antarctic, creating a greenhouse world perfect for cold-blooded predators. These vast tropical ecosystems became lush epicenters of prehistoric life. Without the giant dinosaurs to dominate the landscape, smaller creatures began to flourish and grow. All kinds of mammals, reptiles, birds, and fish lived in these prehistoric jungles, creating abundant food webs that could support larger and larger predators. The mammals of this period were unlike anything alive today. Giant ground sloths the size of elephants browsed on tree leaves. Massive herbivores called eunthirs, with bizarre horn-like protrusions on their skulls, roamed through forest clearings. Primitive horses no bigger than house cats darted through the undergrowth, alongside early primates and bizarre carnivorous mammals with teeth like daggers. But lurking in the shadows of this abundant paradise was a predator unlike any the world had ever seen, a creature so massive, so perfectly adapted to its environment, that it would become the undisputed apex predator of its ecosystem. Meet Titanoboa cerrejonensis, the largest snake that ever lived. This humongous semi-aquatic monster grew to an estimated 42 feet in length and weighed more than a ton. To put that in perspective, Titanoboa was longer than a school bus and heavier than a small car. It was so massive that if you encountered one today, you could literally walk underneath its raised head. The largest python alive today, the reticulated python, rarely exceeds 30 feet in length. The mighty anaconda, famous for its bulk, typically grows to about 20 feet long and weighs around 550 pounds. Titanoboa was twice as long as the biggest anaconda and nearly 3 times as heavy. It was, quite simply, a monster. The story of Titanoboa's discovery reads like an adventure novel. In 2009, paleontologists working in the Cerrejón coal mine in northern Colombia made one of the most spectacular fossil discoveries in recent history. They were examining rocks that had formed at the bottom of ancient tropical rivers and swamps when they noticed something extraordinary. Embedded in the rock were massive vertebrae, snake backbones so large that they initially mistook them for crocodile bones. But as they carefully excavated more specimens, the truth became clear. These were the remains of gigantic snakes, preserved in exquisite detail by the unique conditions of the ancient swamp. The paleontologists, led by Dr. Jason Head from the University of Toronto and Dr. Carlos Jaramillo from the Smithsonian Institution, carefully analyzed hundreds of vertebrae and ribs. Using sophisticated mathematical models that correlate vertebrae size with total body length in modern snakes, they were able to reconstruct Titanoboa's incredible dimensions. Titanoboa shared many physical characteristics with modern-day boas, but everything was scaled up to monstrous proportions. Its skull alone was more than 2 feet long. Its backbone was composed of over 250 individual vertebrae, each one perfectly designed to provide both flexibility and strength. Its rib cage could expand to accommodate prey as large as adult crocodiles, but fossil evidence suggests that despite its massive size, Titanoboa may have behaved more like a modern anaconda than a boa. The environment where its fossils were found, ancient river channels and swampy wetlands, suggests that this giant snake was semi-aquatic, spending much of its time in the water. Picture Titanoboa's hunting strategy. This massive predator would submerge itself in the murky waters of Paleocene rivers and swamps, its enormous body hidden beneath the surface like a living submarine. The warm water helped support its incredible weight while providing perfect camouflage among fallen logs and aquatic vegetation. When unsuspecting prey came to drink at the water's edge, perhaps a primitive horse-like creature or an early relative of modern tapirs, Titanoboa would strike with devastating speed. Despite its enormous size, biomechanical studies suggest it could launch its massive head forward faster than a human could blink. Once Titanoboa seized its prey with rows of recurved teeth, it would use its most deadly weapon, constriction. This hunting behavior, common among some modern snakes, involves wrapping powerful coils around the victim's body and squeezing with tremendous force. But Titanoboa's constriction was on a scale never seen before or since. Engineers have calculated that Titanoboa could generate constriction pressures of up to 400 pounds per square inch, enough to crush the bones of almost any animal that lived in its ecosystem. For comparison, a human handshake exerts about 20 pounds per square inch, while a car tire is inflated to about 35 pounds per square inch. But Titanoboa's enormous size tells us something even more important than just the story of one spectacular predator. It provides crucial insights into ancient climate conditions. You see, snake body size is directly related to environmental temperature. The warmer the climate, the larger snakes can grow. This relationship exists because snakes are ectothermic. They depend on external heat sources to power their metabolism. In warmer environments, their metabolic processes run more efficiently, allowing them to grow larger and more active. Conversely, in cooler climates, snakes must remain smaller to maintain adequate body temperature, using Titanoboa's massive size as a biological thermometer. Scientists have calculated that the average temperature in tropical South America during the Paleocene epoch was between 86 and 93 degrees Fahrenheit, significantly warmer than today's tropical rainforests, which average around 80 degrees. This might not sound like a huge difference, but in terms of climate science, it's enormous. These temperatures suggest that the early Paleocene was one of the warmest periods in Earth's entire history, with atmospheric carbon dioxide levels much higher than anything humans have ever experienced. But this age of giants couldn't last forever. As the Earth's climate began to cool in the later Paleocene and early Eocene epochs, the conditions that allowed Titanoboa to reach such massive proportions gradually disappeared. The giant snake vanished from the fossil record around 58 million years ago, as global temperatures dropped and tropical forests retreated toward the equator. Chapter 6. The cooling world. The Earth's climate began a gradual but dramatic transformation around 50 million years ago. The greenhouse world that had supported giants like Titanoboa was slowly giving way to something more familiar, a planet where ice caps could form at the poles, where seasons became more pronounced, and where different regions developed distinctly different climates. This long-term cooling trend had profound effects on snake evolution. The vast tropical forests that had covered much of the planet began to shrink, retreating toward the equator. In their place, new types of ecosystems emerged: temperate woodlands, grasslands, and eventually the open savannas that would become home to some of the world's most spectacular wildlife. The transformation was gradual, occurring over millions of years, but its effects on snake evolution were revolutionary. For the first time since the age of dinosaurs, snakes found themselves having to adapt to environments that were fundamentally different from the dense, humid forests where they had first evolved. Consider the challenges of hunting in open grasslands compared to dense forests. In a forest, a snake can use fallen logs, dense vegetation, and natural shadows for concealment. Prey animals must navigate around obstacles, giving snakes opportunities to ambush them at choke points. The environment itself provides tools for the hunt, but grasslands offer none of these advantages. They're exposed spaces with few natural hiding spots. Prey animals can see predators coming from great distances and have clear escape routes in every direction. For a snake evolved in the forests, hunting in open country requires entirely new strategies. The prey animals of these new environments were also different. Instead of the small forest-dwelling mammals that early snakes had evolved to hunt, grasslands were populated by swift, long-legged herbivores. These animals could run much faster than any snake could slither, and they lived in herds that provided many eyes watching for danger. The snake lineages that would eventually become vipers and elapids faced a crucial evolutionary challenge. How to capture fast-moving prey in open environments where stealth and constriction weren't sufficient. The solution they developed would revolutionize snake biology and create some of the most feared predators on Earth. The answer was venom. Not just any venom, but fast-acting chemical cocktails specifically designed to immobilize and kill animals much larger than the snakes themselves. This wasn't the first time snakes had experimented with venom. Some early snake lineages had developed mild venoms for subduing small prey. But what evolved in response to grassland hunting was something entirely different. These new venoms required sophisticated delivery systems. Over millions of years, certain snake lineages developed hollow or grooved fangs that could inject venom deep into their prey's tissues. Their venom glands, modified from ordinary salivary glands, became factories for producing complex mixtures of proteins and enzymes. The hunting strategy was elegant in its simplicity. Strike quickly, inject venom, then retreat to a safe distance, while the toxins do their work. Instead of engaging in prolonged struggles with potentially dangerous prey, venomous snakes could deliver a killing blow in a fraction of a second and then simply wait for their meal to succumb. Different snake lineages developed different types of venoms optimized for their specific prey and hunting situations. Some venoms targeted the nervous system, causing rapid paralysis. Others attacked the circulatory system, disrupting blood clotting and causing internal bleeding. Still others broke down tissues at the cellular level, beginning the digestive process even before the prey was consumed. The elapid family, which includes cobras, mambas, and coral snakes, specialized in neurotoxic venoms that shut down their prey's nervous system. Their relatively short, fixed fangs delivered venom that could cause complete paralysis within minutes, stopping the heartbeat and breathing of even large mammals. The viper family took a different approach, developing long, hinged fangs that could fold back against the roof of their mouth when not in use. This design allowed them to develop much longer fangs, sometimes over an inch in length, that could penetrate deep into their prey's body to deliver hemotoxic venoms that attacked blood and tissue. The speed of these venomous strikes became legendary. High-speed photography has revealed that some vipers can strike and inject venom in less than 200 milliseconds, faster than a human can blink. The acceleration involved is so extreme that it approaches the physical limits of what muscle-powered movement can achieve. Some of the most remarkable innovations during this period involved sensory adaptations. Pit vipers, for example, develop specialized organs near their nostrils that can detect infrared thermal radiation, essentially allowing them to see heat signatures in complete darkness. These pit organs are so sensitive they can detect temperature differences as small as 0.003 of a degree Celsius. A pit viper can sense the body heat of a mouse from several feet away, even on a moonless night. This thermal imaging system is so sophisticated that modern military technology is based on similar principles. The evolution of the forked tongue and Jacobson's organ also reached new levels of sophistication during this period. While the basic system had evolved earlier, snakes refined it into an incredibly precise chemical detection system that could track prey trails, identify potential mates, and detect predators from remarkable distances. A snake's forked tongue samples chemical molecules from the air and ground, then transfers them to the Jacobson's organ in the roof of its mouth. This system is so sensitive that some snakes can follow chemical trails that are hours or even days old, tracking prey with the precision of a bloodhound. Chapter 7. Masters of Movement. While Venom was revolutionizing how snakes captured prey, equally dramatic innovations were occurring in how they moved through their environment. The limbless body plan that had first evolved as an adaptation for navigating dense forest undergrowth proved to be remarkably versatile, capable of modifications that would allow snakes to conquer virtually every type of terrain on Earth. The basic form of snake movement, lateral undulation, involves creating waves along the body that push against irregularities in the substrate. Each curve of the snake's body finds a solid object to push against, propelling the animal forward in a continuous, flowing motion. It's an elegant solution to limbless locomotion, but it's just the beginning of the snake's movement repertoire. As snakes colonized increasingly diverse environments, they developed specialized forms of locomotion for different substrates. In the loose, shifting sands of desert environments, normal serpentine movement became inefficient. The sand simply moved instead of providing a solid surface to push against. The solution was sidewinding, a remarkable form of locomotion, where the snake moves diagonally across the surface, lifting portions of its body off the ground in a rolling motion. Only two small sections of the snake's body touch the sand at any given time, minimizing contact with the hot surface while maximizing traction. Sidewinding leaves a distinctive track pattern in the sand, a series of parallel marks that look almost like tire tracks. Each mark represents one point where the snake's body touched the ground during its rolling motion. It's a highly efficient way to move across loose sand, allowing desert snakes to travel at surprising speeds across terrain that would bog down. Other animals dot in tight spaces where lateral undulation isn't possible. Snakes developed rectilinear locomotion, a form of movement that allows them to travel in perfectly straight lines. Large snakes like pythons and boas use this technique when moving through narrow tunnels or when stalking prey that might be spooked by the side-to-side motion of normal serpentine movement. Rectilinear locomotion works through waves of muscle contraction that travel along the snake's belly. Sections of the ventral scales grip the substrate while muscles pull the rest of the body forward, creating a caterpillar-like motion that's nearly silent and incredibly controlled. For climbing or moving through very tight spaces, snakes developed concertina locomotion, a technique that involves anchoring one part of the body while extending another part forward, then pulling the rest of the body up to meet it. It's like an accordion expanding and contracting, allowing snakes to climb vertical surfaces or navigate through spaces barely wider than their own bodies. Tree-dwelling snakes took movement innovation even further, developing prehensile tails that function almost like an extra limb. These muscular appendages can wrap around branches with tremendous grip strength, allowing arboreal snakes to hang upside down, reach between widely spaced branches, and even lower themselves toward prey like living ropes. Perhaps the most spectacular movement adaptation is found in the so-called flying snakes of Southeast Asia. These remarkable serpents can actually glide between trees by flattening their bodies to create a crude airfoil. While they can't truly fly, they can glide for distances of over 100 feet, steering their descent with subtle body movements. The physics of snake gliding is fascinating. By sucking in air and flattening their normally cylindrical bodies into a concave shape, flying snakes create enough lift to significantly extend their gliding distance. They undulate through the air much as they would on the ground, using these movements to control their direction and landing point. Water presented another movement challenge that snakes solved with typical ingenuity. Aquatic and semi-aquatic. Snakes developed flattened paddle-like tails that function as propellers. Their lateral undulation creates powerful thrust against the water, allowing some species to swim faster than many fish. True sea snakes took aquatic adaptation to its logical extreme. Their tails became so flattened and specialized for swimming that they can barely move on land. Some species spend their entire lives in the ocean, giving birth to live young in the water and never touching solid ground. Underground environments demanded yet another set of movement innovations. Burrowing. Snakes develop smooth, polished scales that reduce friction as they push through soil. Their heads became wedge-shaped and reinforced with extra bone, functioning as living shovels for excavating tunnels. Some desert species became so specialized for underground movement that they essentially swim through sand dunes. These sand swimming. Snakes can disappear into loose sand in seconds, moving beneath the surface with remarkable speed and emerging far from where they entered. All of these movement innovations required sophisticated modifications to the snake's muscular system. Snakes have more vertebrae than any other type of animal. Some species have over 400 individual backbone segments, each with its own set of muscles and joints. This gives them incredible flexibility while maintaining the strength needed for powerful movements. Each vertebra is connected to its neighbors by multiple joints that allow movement in several directions. The ribs, instead of forming a rigid cage like in mammals, are free-floating and can move independently. This design gives snakes the ability to change the shape of their body cavity, expand their throat for swallowing large prey, and navigate through spaces that would be impossible for rigid-bodied animals. The snake's scales also play crucial roles in locomotion. Ventral scales, the larger scales on the snake's belly, have microscopic structures that can increase or decrease friction with the substrate. Snakes can literally adjust their grip on surfaces by changing how these scales interact with the ground. Modern biomechanical studies have revealed that snake locomotion is remarkably efficient. Despite having no limbs, snakes can achieve speeds comparable to many four-legged animals of similar size. Their wave-like motion minimizes energy expenditure while maximizing forward propulsion. These movement innovations haven't gone unnoticed by human engineers. Robotic snakes based on serpentine locomotion are being developed for search and rescue operations, space exploration, and medical procedures. The principles of snake movement are inspiring new forms of technology that can navigate spaces impossible for conventional vehicles. Chapter 8. The Ice Age is around 2.6 million years ago. Earth entered one of the most challenging periods in its recent history, the Pleistocene epoch, a time of repeated ice ages that would test every adaptation snakes had developed. Over their 150 million year evolutionary journey. During the height of these ice ages, massive glaciers covered much of North America, Europe, and Asia. Sea levels dropped by over 400 feet as water became locked up in continental ice sheets. The climate became not only colder, but also much more variable, with dramatic swings between glacial and interglacial periods, occurring roughly every 100,000 years. For cold-blooded reptiles like snakes, these climatic changes represented an existential challenge. Many tropical and subtropical species were forced to retreat toward the equator as their habitats literally froze over. Some lineages went extinct entirely, unable to adapt quickly enough to the rapidly changing conditions. But snakes had been through extinctions before, and once again, their remarkable adaptability allowed many species to survive. Those populations that couldn't migrate to warmer regions had to develop new survival strategies for dealing with extended periods of cold weather. The most important of these adaptations was brumation, a state of dormancy similar to hibernation in mammals but adapted to the physiology of reptiles. During brumation, snakes dramatically reduce their metabolic rate, heart rate, and breathing. They may remain motionless for months at a time, surviving on stored body fat while waiting for warmer weather to return in colder regions. Snakes began to gather in large communal dens during winter months. These underground refuges, located below the frost line, might house hundreds or even thousands of individuals from multiple species. The shared body heat and protection from the elements significantly improved survival rates during the harsh winter months. Some of the most spectacular examples of communal denning can still be seen today in places like the Narcissus snake dens in Manitoba, Canada. Every spring, tens of thousands of red-sided garter snakes emerge from limestone caves where they've spent the winter. The resulting mating aggregations create writhing masses of snakes that can contain over 30,000 individuals. Cold-adapted snakes also developed physiological modifications that improved their tolerance for low temperatures. Some species evolved antifreeze proteins in their blood that prevent ice crystal formation in their tissues. Others developed the ability to supercool their body fluids, remaining active at temperatures that would freeze other reptiles solid. Behavioral adaptations were equally important. Cold-climate snakes became expert thermoregulators, spending much of their active time carefully managing their body temperature. They learned to bask in sunny spots during the day, seek shelter during cool nights, and modify their activity patterns to match temperature fluctuations. In the far north, snakes had to compress their entire annual cycle into just a few months of warm weather. They developed the ability to grow rapidly during short summers, reproduce quickly when conditions were favorable, and find adequate food sources before the onset of winter. Not all snake populations had to endure the full intensity of the ice ages. Some survived in refugia, isolated pockets of suitable habitat that remained relatively warm even during glacial periods. These refugio populations became the source stocks for recolonizing northern regions when the ice eventually retreated. As the most recent ice age ended about 12,000 years ago, snakes began expanding their ranges northward again. This post-glacial expansion created many of the distribution patterns we see in snake populations today. Species that had been isolated in different refugia for thousands of years sometimes came back into contact, leading to hybridization and the formation of new evolutionary lineages. The end of the Pleistocene was marked by another major extinction event, though this one was different from the asteroid impact that ended the age of dinosaurs. This time, the primary victims were large mammals, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths, and many other spectacular megafauna species. The timing of these extinctions coincided with the arrival of humans in many parts of the world, leading scientists to debate whether climate change, human hunting, or a combination of both factors was responsible for the disappearance of so many large animals. Once again, snakes proved remarkably resilient to extinction pressures. Their small size, low metabolic requirements, and ability to survive on diverse food sources helped them weather this latest crisis. While many large mammals vanished, snake diversity actually increased in some regions as they adapted to exploit new ecological opportunities. Chapter 9. The Ancient Seas and Early Diversification. Before we explore the modern relationship between humans and snakes, we must venture into one of the most fascinating chapters of snake evolution, their conquest of the world's oceans and the explosive diversification that followed the Age of Giants. While Titanoboa ruled the freshwater swamps of South America, other snake lineages were making equally remarkable adaptations to life in marine environments. The warm, shallow seas of the Paleocene and Eocene epochs provided ideal conditions for the evolution of fully aquatic snakes, creatures so perfectly adapted to ocean life that they would never again set foot on land. The transition from terrestrial to marine life required fundamental changes in snake physiology and behavior. Unlike their land-dwelling cousins, marine snakes had to solve problems that no terrestrial animal faces: how to maintain salt balance in seawater, how to find fresh water for drinking, how to give birth without drowning their offspring, and how to navigate in three-dimensional space without visual landmarks. The earliest marine snakes evolved from semi-aquatic ancestors that lived in coastal swamps and estuaries. These transitional environments provided the perfect stepping stone between land and sea, allowing snakes to gradually adapt to increasingly saline conditions over millions of years of evolution. One of the most crucial adaptations was the development of specialized salt glands located beneath the tongue. These remarkable organs can extract excess salt from the bloodstream and excrete it through the mouth. This biological desalination system allows marine snakes to drink seawater without becoming dehydrated, a capability that even today's most advanced technology struggles to replicate efficiently. The morphological changes required for marine life were equally dramatic. True sea snakes developed flattened paddle-like tails that function as highly efficient propellers. Their bodies became laterally compressed, reducing drag while swimming. Their nostrils moved to the top of their heads and developed watertight valves that can seal completely during dives. Perhaps most remarkably, some marine snakes evolved the ability to absorb oxygen directly through their skin while underwater. This supplementary respiratory system allows them to remain submerged for extended periods. Some species can dive for over 2 hours without returning to the surface to breathe. The reproductive adaptations of marine snakes represent some of the most sophisticated solutions to aquatic childbirth in the animal kingdom. Unlike terrestrial snakes that lay eggs on land, most true sea snakes give birth to live young in the water. The newborns are immediately capable swimmers, equipped with all the physiological adaptations necessary for marine life. During the Eocene epoch, approximately 55 to 34 million years ago, marine snake diversity reached extraordinary levels. Fossil evidence suggests that dozens of species inhabited the world's oceans, from small fish-eating specialists to massive predators that may have rivaled modern orcas in size and hunting prowess. The ancient Tethys Sea, which stretched from the Atlantic to the Pacific across what is now the Mediterranean and Middle East, became a particular hotspot of marine snake evolution. The warm, nutrient-rich waters supported complex marine ecosystems that provided abundant opportunities for aquatic predators. Some of these ancient marine snakes developed hunting strategies that seem almost impossible by modern standards. Fossil evidence suggests that certain species formed cooperative hunting groups, working together to surround schools of fish or pursue large marine prey. This level of social coordination in reptiles was unprecedented and remains virtually unknown among modern snakes. The diversity of feeding strategies among ancient marine snakes was remarkable. Some species specialized in hunting fish with lightning-fast strikes, their teeth perfectly adapted for gripping slippery prey. Others became filter feeders, developing specialized jaw structures that could strain small organisms from the water like living nets. Perhaps most intriguingly, some marine snakes appear to have been apex predators capable of hunting other marine reptiles. Fossil evidence includes snake vertebrae found associated with the remains of ancient marine crocodiles and early whales, suggesting predation relationships that challenge our understanding of ancient ocean food webs. The sensory adaptations of marine snakes reached levels of sophistication that still amaze researchers today. In the murky depths of ancient seas, vision was often limited, so these snakes developed enhanced chemical sensing abilities that could detect prey from extraordinary distances. Their forked tongues became even more sensitive than those of their terrestrial relatives, capable of following chemical trails through three-dimensional water columns. Some species developed electroreception abilities similar to those found in sharks and rays. These biological electrical sensors could detect the faint electrical fields generated by the muscle contractions of potential prey, allowing snakes to hunt effectively, even in complete darkness or murky water. The biogeographic patterns established by ancient marine snakes continue to influence ocean ecosystems today. Modern sea snakes are found primarily in the Indo-Pacific region, with the highest diversity concentrated in the warm waters of Southeast Asia and northern Australia. This distribution pattern reflects the ancient sea routes and climate patterns that shaped marine snake evolution tens of millions of years ago. The study of ancient marine snakes has provided crucial insights into how major environmental transitions occur in evolutionary history. The fossil record shows that the transition from land to sea wasn't a single evolutionary event, but rather a gradual process, involving multiple independent lineages experimenting with aquatic lifestyles. Some of these experiments were more successful than others. While true sea snakes thrived and diversified, other marine snake lineages went extinct as ocean conditions changed. The cooling climate of the later Eocene and Oligocene epochs reduced the area of warm, shallow seas that had supported the greatest diversity of marine snakes. The legacy of these ancient marine adaptations can still be seen in modern snake biology. Even terrestrial snakes retain some physiological capabilities that hinted their ancestors' aquatic experiments. Many modern snakes are excellent swimmers, and some species regularly hunt in aquatic environments, despite being primarily terrestrial. The evolutionary innovations developed by ancient marine snakes have had profound impacts on snake biology. As a whole, the enhanced chemical sensing abilities, the flexible skull structure that allows for swallowing large prey, and the highly efficient muscular systems all trace their origins to adaptations that first appeared in aquatic environments. As we piece together the story of marine snake evolution from fragmentary fossil evidence, we're reminded of how much we still don't know about the history of life on Earth. Every new discovery adds pieces to the puzzle, revealing the incredible creativity and adaptability that characterizes the entire snake lineage. The chapter of marine snake evolution also highlights one of the most important themes in the serpent's journey: the remarkable ability of these animals to exploit new environments and ecological opportunities. From the first lizards that began elongating their bodies in Mesozoic forests to the marine giants that ruled ancient seas, snakes have consistently demonstrated an almost unlimited capacity for evolutionary innovation. Chapter 10. The Human World, the current geological epoch. The Holocene, which began about 11,700 years ago, has been a period of relative climatic stability. This stability has allowed snake populations to expand and diversify, leading to the incredible variety of species we see today. But it has also coincided with the rise of a new and unprecedented force on Earth: human civilization. For 150 million years, Snakes evolved in a world where the greatest challenges came from natural forces, climate change, competition with other species, and the occasional asteroid impact. But beginning around 10,000 years ago, a new and unprecedented force began reshaping the planet. Human civilization. The agricultural revolution marked the beginning of humanity's transformation of natural landscapes. Forests were cleared for farmland, wetlands were drained for crops, and grasslands were converted to pastures. For the first time in Earth's history, a single species was deliberately and systematically modifying entire ecosystems. Initially, these changes may have actually benefited some snake species. Agricultural areas, with their abundance of rodent pests and simplified ecosystems, provided new opportunities for adaptable predators. But as human populations grew and technology advanced, the scale of environmental modification began to exceed anything snakes had ever faced. Today, human activity has dramatically reduced and fragmented snake habitats around the world. Tropical rainforests, which have been snake diversity hotspots for millions of years, are being cleared at unprecedented rates. In regions like Southeast Asia and South America, vast areas of primary forest are converted to palm oil plantations, cattle ranches, and urban developments every year. The impacts go beyond simple habitat loss. Roads, which now crisscross virtually every landscape on Earth, create deadly barriers for snake populations. Unlike birds or large mammals, snakes cannot easily cross highways. They're slow-moving and ground-dwelling, making them particularly vulnerable to vehicle strikes. Studies have shown that even relatively small roads can fragment snake populations, preventing gene flow between groups and reducing genetic diversity. Over time, these isolated populations become more vulnerable to disease, environmental changes, and local extinctions. Humans have also introduced invasive species that directly compete with or prey upon native snakes. Feral cats, introduced to virtually every continent, kill billions of small reptiles each year. Mongooses, introduced to control rats on islands, have devastated native snake populations in Hawaii, the Caribbean, and other island systems. Sometimes, the invasive species are snakes themselves. The Burmese python population in the Florida Everglades, established from escaped or released pets, has grown to over 100,000 individuals. These massive constrictors are consuming native wildlife at an alarming rate, causing population crashes in mammals, birds, and even native reptiles. Modern climate change presents another unprecedented challenge. While snakes have survived climate changes before, the current rate of warming is faster than anything in their evolutionary experience. Species adapted to specific temperature ranges may not be able to migrate or adapt quickly enough to keep pace with changing conditions. Already, scientists are documenting range shifts in snake populations as species track their preferred climates, northward or to higher elevations. Some species are expanding their ranges into previously unsuitable areas, while others are experiencing range contractions as their habitat becomes too warm. Climate change is also disrupting the timing of natural events, a phenomenon called phenological mismatch. If snakes emerge from winter dormancy too early or too late relative to their prey species' activity patterns, it can lead to reduced feeding success and reproductive failure. Perhaps no factor has had a more direct impact on snake populations than human persecution. Across cultures and throughout history, snakes have been viewed with fear, suspicion, and outright hatred. This ophiophobia, fear of snakes, has deep evolutionary roots, but has been amplified by cultural and religious traditions. In some regions, organized snake-killing events called roundups remove thousands of individuals from wild populations each year. These events, originally started as pest control measures, have persisted as cultural traditions long after their Practical justification has disappeared. The global trade in snake products for traditional medicine and fashion accessories has put additional pressure on many species. Snake skins are prized for luxury goods, while various snake parts are used in traditional remedies, despite a lack of scientific evidence for their efficacy. Yet despite these multiple threats, snakes have shown remarkable resilience. Many species have adapted to human-modified environments, learning to exploit new food sources and nesting sites. Urban parks, suburban gardens, and even agricultural areas can support thriving snake populations if managed appropriately. Some species have become so well adapted to urban environments that they're actually more successful in cities than in natural areas. These urban-adapted snakes have learned to navigate human landscapes, finding shelter in storm drains, abandoned buildings, and landscape gardens while feeding on the abundant rodent populations that follow human habitation. Scientific research has increasingly highlighted the crucial ecological services that snakes provide. A single snake can consume hundreds of rodents per year, providing natural pest control worth thousands of dollars to agricultural operations. Without snakes, many ecosystems would be overrun by small mammals that would cause far more economic and environmental damage than the snakes themselves. Chapter 11. Snake intelligence and behavior are one of the most misunderstood aspects of snake biology is their cognitive capacity and behavioral complexity. For too long, snakes have been dismissed as simple, instinct-driven creatures incapable of learning or complex behavior. Modern research is revealing a very different picture, one of sophisticated predators with remarkable problem-solving abilities, complex social behaviors, and even what appears to be rudimentary forms of culture. The study of snake intelligence presents unique challenges for researchers. Unlike mammals or birds, snakes don't have facial expressions, complex vocalizations, or obvious social interactions that make intelligence easy to recognize. Their cognitive abilities are expressed through subtle behaviors that require careful observation and ingenious experimental design to detect and measure. Recent laboratory studies have demonstrated that snakes are capable of remarkable feats of learning and memory. Individual snakes can learn complex maze patterns, remember the solutions for months, and even improve their performance over time. They can distinguish between different human caretakers, showing preferences for individuals who handle them gently versus those who cause stress. Perhaps most surprisingly, some snake species have demonstrated the ability to use tools, a cognitive skill once thought to be limited to primates, dolphins, and a few bird species. Researchers have observed snakes manipulating objects in their environment to achieve specific goals, such as using rocks or sticks to create leverage for escaping enclosures or accessing food sources. The hunting behaviors of venomous snakes reveal levels of strategic thinking that border on the sophisticated. Rather than simply striking at any potential prey, experienced vipers assess multiple factors before deciding whether to attack: the size and health of potential prey, the risk of retaliation, the likelihood of successfully retrieving the animal after envenomation, and even the energy cost of producing new venom. Some snake species demonstrate what can only be described as patience and planning in their hunting strategies. Ambush predators like gaboon vipers may remain motionless in the same location for weeks, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. This isn't passive waiting. These snakes are actively monitoring their environment, assessing potential prey, and adjusting their position and posture to maximize hunting success. The social behaviors of snakes are far more complex than most people realize. While snakes are generally solitary animals, many species engage in sophisticated social interactions during mating season, territory establishment, and even cooperative behaviors that benefit multiple individuals. Male combat rituals in many Snake species involve elaborate wrestling matches that can last for hours. These contests aren't simple tests of strength. They involve complex behavioral sequences, strategic positioning, and what appears to be assessment of opponent capabilities. The larger or more experienced male usually wins, but victory often depends more on technique and endurance than raw power. Female snakes demonstrate remarkable maternal behaviors that challenge stereotypes about reptilian parenting. Python mothers coil around their eggs for months, maintaining optimal temperature and humidity through muscular contractions that generate heat. Some species guard their young for weeks after hatching, leading them to safe locations and even sharing food resources. The communication systems of snakes are more sophisticated than their lack of complex vocalizations might suggest. Chemical communication through pheromones allows snakes to convey detailed information about their identity, reproductive status, health condition, and recent activities. This chemical language is so precise that snakes can distinguish between closely related individuals and track the movements of specific animals over considerable distances. Some snake species have developed visual communication systems that involve complex body postures, color changes, and movement patterns. Coral snakes use their bright warning coloration not just to deter predators, but also to communicate with other coral snakes about territory boundaries and mating availability. The learning abilities of snakes extend beyond simple conditioning to what appears to be genuine problem-solving. Captive snakes have been observed figuring out how to escape from complex enclosures, learning to manipulate feeding devices, and even adapting their behavior based on the preferences of different human caretakers. Individual personality differences in snakes are becoming increasingly recognized by researchers and experienced snake handlers. Some individuals are consistently bold and exploratory, while others are cautious and prefer familiar environments. These personality traits appear to be stable over time and influence everything from hunting success to mating behavior. The memory capabilities of snakes are particularly impressive given their relatively simple brain structure. Snakes can remember the locations of successful hunting sites for months or even years, returning to productive areas during appropriate seasons. They can also remember negative experiences, avoiding locations where they've encountered danger or unsuccessful hunting attempts. Spatial navigation abilities in snakes rival those of many birds and mammals. Radio tracking studies have revealed that many snake species maintain detailed mental maps of their territories, including the locations of shelter sites, hunting grounds, water sources, and territorial boundaries. Some species undertake remarkable migrations, traveling hundreds of miles between summer feeding areas and winter hibernation sites. The problem-solving abilities of snakes become particularly apparent when they encounter novel challenges in laboratory settings. Researchers have documented snakes learning to navigate complex mazes, manipulate mechanical puzzles, and even use trial-and-error approaches to overcome obstacles that they've never encountered before. Perhaps most intriguingly, there's growing evidence for what might be called cultural transmission in some snake populations. Experienced individuals appear to pass on information about hunting techniques, safe shelter locations, and predator avoidance strategies to younger snakes through direct interaction and behavioral modeling. The sensory integration capabilities of snakes represent a form of intelligence that's uniquely adapted to their ecological niche. The ability to simultaneously process information from multiple sensory modalities, chemical, thermal, vibrational, and visual, and integrate this data into coherent behavioral responses requires sophisticated neural processing. Recent neurological research has revealed that snake brains, while small, are highly specialized and efficient. Different brain regions show remarkable plasticity, adapting their structure and function based on the specific challenges faced by individual snakes. This neural flexibility may be one of the key factors underlying the remarkable adaptability that has allowed snakes to thrive in so many different environments. The study of snake cognition is also revealing insights into the evolutionary origins of intelligence itself. Snakes represent a very different lineage from mammals and birds, yet they've independently evolved many cognitive abilities that were once thought to be unique to higher vertebrates. This convergent evolution of intelligence suggests that complex cognitive abilities may be more widespread in the animal kingdom than previously believed. Understanding snake intelligence has practical implications for conservation efforts. Recognizing that snakes are capable of complex behaviors and learning means that conservation strategies must account for their cognitive needs. Simple habitat protection may not be sufficient if it doesn't provide opportunities for the behavioral complexity that appears to be essential for snake welfare. The revelation of snake intelligence also challenges us to reconsider our relationship with these remarkable animals. If snakes are capable of learning, memory, and complex behaviors, then our treatment of them, whether in captivity, in the wild, or in research settings, must reflect this cognitive complexity. As research into snake cognition continues, we're likely to discover even more surprising capabilities. The combination of sophisticated sensory systems, efficient neural processing, and remarkable behavioral flexibility suggests that we've only begun to understand the true cognitive abilities of these ancient predators. The story of snake intelligence reminds us that evolution finds many different paths to cognitive sophistication. The snake's approach to intelligence, based on chemical communication, spatial memory, and strategic patience, represents a fundamentally different but equally valid solution to the challenges of survival in a complex world. Chapter 12. Venom and Medicine. Ironically, some of the same venoms that make snakes feared also make them invaluable to human medicine. The medical potential of snake venoms has led to the establishment of venom collection facilities, where snakes are maintained in captivity to regularly harvest their venom for research and pharmaceutical development. The revolution in understanding snake venoms began in the 1970s when Brazilian scientist Sergio Ferreira discovered that the venom of the jararaca pit viper contained compounds that could lower blood pressure. This discovery led to the development of ACE inhibitors, one of the most commonly prescribed classes of blood pressure medications used today. But this was just the beginning. Scientists estimate that snake venoms contain tens of thousands of unique compounds, most of which have never been studied for their medical potential. Each species produces its own unique cocktail of toxins, and many species have multiple distinct venoms that they can deploy for different purposes. Advanced protein analysis techniques are cataloging the incredible diversity of compounds found in snake venoms. These molecules have evolved to target specific physiological pathways with incredible precision, making them ideal templates for drug development. Current research is exploring venom-derived treatments for cancer, autoimmune diseases, chronic pain, and neurological disorders. Some compounds can target specific cancer cell types while leaving healthy cells unharmed. Others can modulate immune responses with surgical precision, potentially offering new treatments for conditions like multiple sclerosis and rheumatoid arthritis. The pharmaceutical potential of these discoveries is staggering. Scientists estimate that snake venoms represent the largest unexplored library of bioactive compounds on Earth. Many of these molecules are more potent and specific than any drugs currently available, offering hope for treating diseases that have resisted conventional therapies. Venom research has also revealed fascinating insights into pain management. Some snake venoms contain powerful analgesics that are far more effective than morphine, but without the addictive properties. These compounds work by targeting specific pain receptors, potentially offering new options for treating chronic pain conditions. The study of how venoms affect blood clotting has led to breakthrough treatments for stroke and heart attack. Some venom compounds can dissolve blood clots more effectively and safely than current medications, while others can prevent dangerous clot formation in high-risk patients. Neurological research has been revolutionized by venom compounds that target specific neurotransmitter systems. These molecules are helping scientists understand how the brain works and are leading to new treatments for conditions like Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and epilepsy. Even more remarkably, some venom compounds are being investigated as potential cancer treatments. Certain toxins can selectively kill cancer cells while sparing healthy tissue, offering hope for more effective and less toxic cancer therapies. The precision of venom compounds is truly remarkable. Evolution has refined these molecules over millions of years to target specific biological pathways with incredible accuracy. This natural engineering is far more sophisticated than anything human chemists have been able to create. As research techniques advance and our understanding of venom biochemistry improves, snakes may prove to be one of our most valuable sources of new medical treatments. The irony is profound. The very creatures that many people fear most may hold the keys to treating some of our most devastating diseases. The quest to understand venom evolution has led scientists to investigate some of the most remote and dangerous locations on Earth. In the Amazon rainforest, researchers rappel from helicopters to collect venom, samples from arboreal species that spend their entire lives in the forest canopy. In the Australian outback, herpetologists work with indigenous communities to locate and study some of the world's most venomous snakes using traditional knowledge passed down over thousands of years. Each venom collection expedition reveals new compounds with potential medical applications. A recent expedition to the mountains of Costa Rica discovered a previously unknown species of pit viper whose venom contains compounds that appear to selectively target certain types of brain cancer cells. Another study of coral snake venoms from the Philippines has yielded molecules that show promise for treating severe depression and anxiety disorders. The complexity of venom research extends beyond simply identifying new compounds. Scientists must also understand how these molecules work at the cellular and molecular level, how they can be synthesized in the laboratory, and how they can be modified to enhance their therapeutic potential while reducing unwanted side effects. One of the most promising areas of venom research involves the development of new antibiotics. As traditional antibiotics become less effective due to bacterial resistance, researchers are turning to venom compounds that have evolved to combat bacterial infections in the wild. Some snake venoms contain powerful antimicrobial peptides that can kill bacteria through mechanisms that are completely different from conventional antibiotics. The field of pain management has been revolutionized by venom research. Traditional opioid pain medications, while effective, carry significant risks of addiction and overdose. Venom-derived pain medications work through entirely different mechanisms, targeting specific pain receptors without affecting the brain's reward pathways. This could potentially provide powerful pain relief without the addiction potential of current medications. Cardiovascular medicine has been transformed by venom research, beginning with the discovery of ACE inhibitors derived from pit viper venom. Researchers are now investigating venom compounds that could prevent heart attacks, treat irregular heart rhythms, and even help repair damaged heart tissue after cardiac events. The precision of venom compounds continues to amaze researchers. Some molecules can distinguish between healthy cells and cancer cells with remarkable accuracy, selectively destroying tumors while leaving normal tissue unharmed. Others can target specific types of bacteria while preserving beneficial microorganisms that are essential for human health. Recent advances in biotechnology have made it possible to produce venom compounds in the laboratory without having to collect them from live snakes. Using genetic engineering techniques, scientists can program bacteria or yeast cells to produce specific venom proteins, making these valuable compounds more readily available for research and therapeutic development. The study of venom resistance in natural prey species has opened up entirely new avenues for medical research. Animals like mongooses and honey badgers have evolved biochemical mechanisms that can neutralize snake venoms. And understanding these natural antidotes is leading to new approaches for treating snakebite victims and developing novel therapeutic compounds. Neurological research has been particularly benefited by venom studies. Some venom compounds can cross the blood-brain barrier, a protective membrane that prevents most drugs from reaching brain tissue. This capability makes venom-derived molecules particularly valuable for treating neurological conditions like Alzheimer's disease, stroke, and spinal cord injuries. The economic impact of venom research is substantial. The global market for venom-derived pharmaceuticals is projected to reach billions of dollars in the coming decades. Countries with high snake diversity, particularly in tropical regions, are beginning to recognize venoms as valuable natural resources that could provide significant economic benefits while incentivizing conservation efforts. International collaboration in venom research has become essential as scientists recognize that the full potential of these natural libraries can only be realized through coordinated global efforts. Researchers are sharing venom samples, analytical techniques, and research findings to accelerate the pace of discovery and ensure that promising compounds are developed as quickly as possible. The ethical considerations of venom research are complex and evolving. Scientists must balance the potential benefits of their research against the welfare of the snakes used in venom collection. Many research institutions are developing more humane methods for venom extraction and are working to minimize stress and harm to the animals involved in their studies. Conservation implications of venom research are profound. As the medical value of snake venoms becomes more widely recognized, there are growing incentives to protect snake habitats and maintain healthy wild populations. The potential loss of a species to extinction could represent the loss of thousands of unique compounds that might have provided treatments for human diseases. The future of venom research is likely to be shaped by advances in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Computer algorithms are being developed that can predict the biological activity of venom compounds based on their molecular structure, potentially identifying promising therapeutic targets without the need for extensive laboratory testing. Personalized medicine represents another frontier for venom research. As our understanding of human genetic variation improves, it may become possible to tailor venom-derived treatments to individual patients based on their specific genetic profiles, maximizing therapeutic benefits while minimizing side effects. The integration of traditional medicine with modern venom research is providing new insights into therapeutic applications. In many cultures, snake-derived remedies have been used for centuries to treat various ailments. Modern scientific analysis of these traditional preparations is revealing that many contain active compounds that could be developed into modern pharmaceuticals. Pediatric medicine has been particularly challenging for venom research, as children often respond differently to medications than adults. However, some venom compounds show promise for treating childhood diseases that have been particularly difficult to address with conventional therapies, including certain types of childhood cancers and rare genetic disorders. The field of regenerative medicine is beginning to explore venom compounds that might stimulate tissue repair and regeneration. Some snake venoms contain factors that promote blood vessel growth and tissue healing, potentially offering new approaches for treating wounds, burns, and degenerative diseases. As venom research continues to advance, the snake's role as a source of life-saving medicines becomes increasingly important. The irony remains profound. The creatures that many people fear most may ultimately prove to be humanity's greatest allies in the fight against disease and suffering. Chapter 30. Conservation Challenges and Success Stories. There have been notable conservation success stories that demonstrate what's possible when humans and snakes are managed thoughtfully. The recovery of the Antiguan racer, once considered the world's rarest snake with only 50 individuals remaining, shows how targeted conservation efforts can bring species back from the brink of extinction. Education programs that teach people to identify venomous from non-venomous species, understand snake behavior, and appreciate their ecological importance have proven effective at reducing human-snake conflicts. When people understand that most snakes are harmless and beneficial, coexistence becomes much more achievable. Conservation biologists are developing innovative strategies for maintaining snake populations in fragmented landscapes, wildlife corridors that connect isolated habitat patches, allow snakes to move between areas, maintaining genetic diversity and population stability. Modern technology has enabled new forms of snake research and conservation. Citizen science programs use smartphone apps to collect distribution data from amateur naturalists and photographers. GPS tracking and radio telemetry allow researchers to study snake movements and habitat use with unprecedented precision. The revolution in DNA sequencing technology has allowed researchers to decode the complete genomes of multiple snake species. These genetic blueprints are revealing the molecular mechanisms behind some of snakes' most remarkable adaptations, from limb loss to venom production to extreme metabolic flexibility. Gene editing technologies like CRISPR are allowing scientists to test evolutionary hypotheses in real time. By reactivating dormant genes in snake embryos, researchers can literally reverse millions of years of evolution, causing snakes to begin developing limb buds or other ancestral characteristics. Engineers are drawing inspiration from snake locomotion to develop new types of robots. These bio-inspired machines can navigate through rubble and search and rescue operations, perform minimally invasive surgery inside the human body, and explore environments too dangerous or inaccessible for humans. NASA is even exploring snake-inspired robots for space exploration. The ability to move through tight spaces without limbs could be invaluable for exploring caves on Mars, navigating the internal structures of asteroids, or performing maintenance tasks on space stations. Climate change research is providing new insights into how snakes might adapt to our rapidly changing world. Some species are already showing evolutionary responses to warming temperatures, including changes in body size, reproductive timing, and geographic distribution. Conservation biologists are developing strategies for helping snake populations adapt to climate change. Assisted migration programs are moving populations to suitable habitat, areas that are predicted to remain viable as temperatures continue to rise. Research into urban snake ecology is revealing how these ancient creatures are adapting to modern city environments. Some urban snakes are evolving different behaviors, physiologies, and even morphologies compared to their rural counterparts, essentially undergoing real-time evolution in response to human-modified environments. Genetic tools are revolutionizing snake conservation efforts. DNA analysis can identify distinct populations that require separate protection, detect hybridization between species, and assess the genetic health of small populations that might be at risk of inbreeding. International monitoring networks are tracking snake population trends worldwide, providing early warning systems for species in decline. These efforts are particularly important for venomous species, which often face disproportionate persecution. Despite their ecological importance, Virtual and augmented reality technologies are creating new opportunities for snake education and research. People can now experience close encounters with dangerous species in completely safe environments, while researchers can study snake behavior using sophisticated computer simulations. The conservation of snakes presents unique challenges that differ significantly from those facing more charismatic wildlife like mammals and birds. Public support for snake conservation is often limited by deep-seated fears and cultural prejudices, making it difficult to generate the funding and political support necessary for effective protection programs. Despite these challenges, there have been remarkable conservation success stories that demonstrate what's possible when dedicated scientists, local communities, and governments work together to protect snake populations. The recovery of the Antiguan racer from fewer than 50 individuals to over 1,000 represents one of the most dramatic conservation successes in reptile biology. The Antiguan racer's recovery required a comprehensive approach that addressed multiple threats simultaneously. Researchers had to control invasive mammals that were preying on the snakes, restore degraded habitat on offshore islands, establish captive breeding programs to boost population numbers, and work with local communities to build support for conservation efforts. The success of the Antiguan racer program has provided a blueprint for other snake conservation efforts around the world. Similar approaches are being applied to protect endangered species like the San Francisco garter snake, the eastern indigo snake, and the Aruba island rattlesnake, with varying degrees of success depending on local conditions and available resources. One of the most significant challenges in snake conservation is the difficulty of studying these secretive animals in the wild. Unlike birds or mammals that are easily observed, snakes spend much of their time hidden underground, under rocks, or in dense vegetation. This makes it difficult to assess population sizes, monitor breeding success, or detect population declines until they become severe. Advances in tracking technology are revolutionizing snake conservation research. Radio transmitters and GPS loggers allow scientists to follow individual snakes for months or years, providing unprecedented insights into their habitat requirements, movement patterns, and survival rates. This information is essential for developing effective protection strategies and habitat management plans. The use of environmental DNA sampling is opening up new possibilities for snake conservation monitoring. By analyzing water or soil samples for traces of snake DNA, researchers can detect the presence of species in areas where traditional survey methods might miss them. This technique is particularly valuable for monitoring rare or elusive species that are difficult to observe directly. Community-based conservation programs are proving to be particularly effective for snake protection. In many regions, local communities have traditional knowledge about snake behavior, habitat requirements, and population trends that can be invaluable for conservation efforts. When communities are involved as partners rather than obstacles, conservation programs are much more likely to succeed. Education programs specifically designed to address snake phobias and misconceptions are showing promising results in changing public attitudes. These programs use a combination of factual information about snake ecology and behavior, hands-on experiences with harmless species, and cultural approaches that respect local beliefs while promoting coexistence. The economic value of snakes for pest control is becoming an increasingly important argument for conservation. Studies have shown that a single snake can consume hundreds of rodents per year, providing ecosystem services worth thousands of dollars annually. When these economic benefits are quantified and communicated effectively, they can provide powerful incentives for snake protection. Habitat connectivity is emerging as a critical factor in snake conservation. Many snake species require large, territories and need to move between different types of habitat throughout their life cycles. Wildlife corridors that connect fragmented habitat patches can significantly improve survival rates and genetic diversity in snake populations. The role of protected areas in snake conservation is complex and often misunderstood. While large national parks and wilderness areas can provide important refuges for snake populations, many species require habitat management that's incompatible with strict preservation approaches. Prescribed burning, selective logging, and other active management techniques may be necessary to maintain the open habitats that many snake species prefer. Urban snake conservation is becoming increasingly important as human populations continue to grow and expand into previously undeveloped areas. Cities and suburbs can actually provide suitable habitat for many snake species if they're designed and managed appropriately. Green infrastructure, such as parks, greenways, and constructed wetlands, can support surprisingly diverse snake communities. The illegal wildlife trade poses significant threats to many snake species, particularly those with valuable skins or those collected for the pet trade. International cooperation through treaties like CITES, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, has helped reduce some forms of trade, but enforcement remains challenging, especially in remote areas where many rare species are found. Climate change represents a long-term threat to snake conservation that requires innovative approaches. Assisted migration programs are being developed to help snake populations move to suitable habitat as temperature and precipitation patterns change. These programs involve carefully relocating individuals or populations to areas that are predicted to remain suitable under future climate conditions. The integration of traditional ecological knowledge with modern conservation science is proving particularly valuable for snake conservation. Indigenous communities often have detailed knowledge about snake behavior, habitat requirements, and population trends that has been accumulated over generations. This knowledge can provide insights that are impossible to obtain through short-term scientific studies. Captive breeding programs for endangered snakes require specialized expertise and facilities. Unlike mammals or birds, snakes have very specific requirements for temperature, humidity, and social conditions that must be carefully maintained to achieve breeding success. The development of standardized protocols for snake breeding has been essential for the success of conservation. Breeding programs. The reintroduction of captive-bred snakes to the wild presents unique challenges. Snakes that have been raised in captivity may lack the hunting skills, predator avoidance behaviors, and environmental knowledge necessary for survival in the wild. Pre-release training programs are being developed to help captive-bred snakes develop these essential survival skills. Genetic management of small snake populations requires careful planning to maintain genetic diversity while avoiding inbreeding. DNA analysis is being used to identify the most genetically valuable individuals for breeding programs and to guide decisions about which animals should be moved between different populations to maintain gene flow. The success of snake conservation efforts often depends on addressing threats that extend far beyond the immediate habitat of the target species. For example, protecting water quality in distant watersheds may be essential for maintaining healthy populations of aquatic snake species. This ecosystem-level approach to conservation requires coordination between multiple agencies and stakeholders. Groups. Volunteer citizen scientists are playing increasingly important roles in snake conservation monitoring. Smartphone apps and online databases allow amateur naturalists to contribute valuable data about snake distributions, population trends, and threats. When properly coordinated, these citizen science programs can provide data coverage over much larger areas than would be possible with professional researchers alone. The economic costs of snake conservation can be substantial, but they must be weighed against the costs of losing these species forever. The value of ecosystem services provided by snakes, the potential for medical discoveries from their venoms, and the intrinsic value of maintaining biodiversity all justify significant investments in snake conservation. International cooperation is essential for protecting migratory snake species and addressing transboundary threats. Many snake species cross international borders during their migrations or are affected by threats that originate in other countries. Successful conservation of these species requires coordinated action between multiple nations. The future of snake conservation will likely depend on our ability to develop more sophisticated approaches that account for the complex interactions between snakes, their prey, their predators, and their physical environment. This systems-level understanding of snake ecology is essential for predicting how conservation interventions will affect entire ecosystems. Public engagement remains one of the greatest challenges in snake conservation. Overcoming centuries of cultural prejudice and fear requires sustained education efforts and positive experiences with snakes in safe, controlled settings. The growing popularity of nature documentaries and social media has created new opportunities for changing public perceptions of snakes. The success stories in snake conservation provide hope that even the most challenging conservation problems can be solved with sufficient dedication, resources, and scientific expertise. Each successful recovery program provides lessons that can be applied to other species and situations, gradually building our capacity to protect snake diversity worldwide. As we look toward the future, the conservation of snakes will require continued innovation in research methods, management techniques, and public engagement strategies. The stakes are high. The loss of snake species means the loss of millions of years of evolutionary history and potentially valuable medical compounds that could benefit humanity. Chapter 14. The Future of Serpents. As we look toward the future, the story of snake evolution is far from over. In research laboratories around the world, scientists are unlocking secrets that could revolutionize medicine, robotics, and our fundamental understanding of life itself. Looking further into the future, synthetic biology might allow us to create entirely new types of venoms for medical applications, or even to design snake-inspired organisms for specific purposes. While this technology is still in its infancy, it represents a potential revolution in how we harness biological innovations. Computer models are being developed to predict how snake evolution might proceed in the future. These simulations consider factors like climate change, habitat fragmentation, and human population growth to forecast which species are most likely to thrive and which might face extinction. Conservation strategies are becoming more adaptive and responsive, using real-time data to adjust protection measures as conditions change. This approach recognizes that in our rapidly changing world, static conservation plans are often insufficient. The One Health concept, which recognizes the interconnection between human, animal, and environmental health, is being applied to snake conservation. This holistic approach considers how protecting snake populations benefits entire ecosystems and human communities. International collaboration on snake research and conservation is increasing, with scientists sharing data, resources, and expertise across borders. This global approach is essential for protecting species that migrate across multiple countries or face threats that transcend national boundaries. Emerging technologies like environmental DNA sampling, satellite tracking, and artificial intelligence are opening new frontiers in snake research. These tools allow scientists to detect species presence from water or soil samples, track individual animals across vast distances, and analyze complex datasets in ways that were previously impossible. Perhaps most importantly, our growing understanding of snake evolution is changing how we view these remarkable creatures. Instead of seeing them as primitive or fearsome, we're beginning to appreciate them as sophisticated evolutionary success stories that have survived and thrived through some of Earth's most challenging periods. The relationship between humans and snakes continues to evolve. As our understanding of these remarkable creatures grows, and as we face mounting environmental challenges of our own, we're beginning to recognize snakes not as enemies to be feared and destroyed, but as partners in maintaining healthy ecosystems and potential sources of life-saving medicines. Modern snakes have colonized virtually every terrestrial habitat on Earth except the frozen Antarctic. They've adapted to life in scorching deserts where surface temperatures exceed 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and in northern forests where winter temperatures drop below -40 degrees Fahrenheit. They live at sea level and at altitudes over 16,000 feet in the Himalayas. One of the most remarkable aspects of modern snake distribution is their ability to colonize remote islands. Snakes have reached isolated oceanic islands thousands of miles from the nearest mainland, arriving as stowaways on floating debris, in the ballast water of ships, or through other unlikely means of dispersal. Once established on islands, snake populations often undergo rapid evolutionary change. Free from many of their mainland predators and competitors, island snakes frequently evolve unusual characteristics. Some become giants, others become dwarfs. Some lose their venom, others develop new types of toxins. As our comprehensive journey through 150 million years of snake evolution reaches its conclusion, we find ourselves not at an ending, but standing at the threshold of new discoveries and possibilities. The story we've explored, from the first elongated lizards in ancient Mesozoic forests to the sophisticated predators that navigate our complex modern world, represents just one extraordinary chapter in the vast book of life on Earth. The Serpents' journey has taken us through asteroid impacts that wiped out the dinosaurs, ice ages that locked much of the planet in frozen silence, and climate changes that repeatedly reshaped entire continents. Through it all, snakes have not merely survived. They have thrived, adapted, and innovated in ways that continue to astonish scientists and inspire engineers. Today's 4,000 snake species represent the most diverse assemblage of serpents that has ever existed on our planet. From the tiny thread snakes no thicker than a pencil lead to the massive reticulated pythons capable of overpowering crocodiles. From the lightning-fast striking desert vipers to the patient constrictors of tropical rainforests, snakes have explored virtually every conceivable approach to being a successful predator. The catalog of innovations they've developed during their evolutionary journey reads like a masterpiece of biological engineering. Joints that can dislocate and relocate without damage, allowing prey items larger than the snake's head to be consumed. Venom delivery systems more precise than any human-designed medical syringe, capable of injecting exact doses of complex molecular cocktails. Sensory organs that can detect the infrared heat signatures of prey animals in complete darkness, functioning as biological thermal imaging systems that surpass many human technologies. Muscular systems that can generate crushing forces sufficient to stop the heartbeat of large mammals while maintaining the incredible flexibility needed for serpentine locomotion. Chemical sensing organs so sensitive they can follow molecular trails that are hours or even days old, tracking prey with precision that rivals the most sophisticated analytical instruments. Neural control systems that coordinate the activity of hundreds of individual muscle segments while processing sensory information from multiple modalities simultaneously. But perhaps the most important lesson from the serpent's journey extends far beyond the realm of snake biology. It's a profound reminder of the power of adaptation, persistence, and evolutionary creativity in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. Snakes have survived asteroid impacts that devastated global ecosystems, ice ages that locked vast regions in permafrost, and climate fluctuations that repeatedly transformed the face of our planet. They achieved this not through brute strength or massive size, but through flexibility, efficiency, and an almost limitless capacity for innovation. When their environment changed, they changed with it. When old strategies became obsolete, they evolved new ones. When catastrophic events eliminated their competitors, they found ways to exploit new ecological opportunities. Today, as our own species faces unprecedented global challenges, climate change accelerating at rates unknown in geological history, biodiversity loss threatening ecosystem stability worldwide, and environmental degradation affecting every corner of our planet. The snake's evolutionary story offers both inspiration and practical guidance. Their remarkable journey demonstrates that adaptation is not just possible, but inevitable for lineages willing to embrace change rather than resist it. Evolution is revealed not as a finished process, but as an ongoing creative force, constantly generating new solutions to new challenges, constantly exploring new possibilities for life to flourish even under the most difficult circumstances. The future of snakes is inextricably intertwined with our own choices as a species and as planetary stewards. In urban parks and suburban gardens, in vast wilderness preserves, and even in the heart of our cities, snakes continue to play their ancient ecological roles as predators, population regulators, and essential components of healthy ecosystems. They ask for nothing more than the opportunity to exist, to pursue their evolutionary destiny, and to continue the incredible journey that began 150 million years ago in the shadowy understory of Mesozoic forests. Their survival depends not on our charity, but on our wisdom, our ability to recognize that their success is ultimately inseparable from our own. The tools of modern science are revealing new secrets about these remarkable creatures with each passing day. Every research expedition to remote corners of the world yields new species previously unknown to science. Every laboratory study uncovers new molecular mechanisms underlying their extraordinary adaptations. Every conservation success story demonstrates that human determination and scientific knowledge can overcome even the most daunting challenges. Gene sequencing projects are decoding the complete genetic blueprints of dozens of snake species, revealing the molecular basis of limblessness, venom production, and other key innovations. Computer models are predicting how snake ranges will shift in response to climate change, helping conservationists plan for an uncertain future. Artificial intelligence systems are analyzing vast datasets to identify patterns and relationships that would be impossible for humans to detect alone. Biotechnology laboratories are synthesizing venom compounds that could revolutionize human medicine, potentially providing treatments for cancer, heart disease, chronic pain, and neurological disorders. Robotics engineers are creating snake-inspired machines for space exploration, medical procedures, and search and rescue operations. Material scientists are developing synthetic substances that mimic the remarkable properties of snake skin and muscle. Yet for all our technological sophistication, the most important insights from the serpent's journey may be philosophical rather than practical. In their evolutionary success, we see reflected the fundamental principles that govern all life on Earth: adaptation, persistence, innovation, and the courage to embrace change as an opportunity rather than a threat. The next generation of researchers, conservationists, and nature enthusiasts will inherit both unprecedented opportunities and unprecedented responsibilities. They will have access to technologies and knowledge that would have seemed magical to earlier generations of scientists. They will also face challenges that are global in scope and urgent in their timeline. The questions they're already beginning to ask will shape our understanding for decades to come. How do snakes age, and what can their longevity teach us about human health? Can their remarkable regenerative abilities inspire new medical treatments? What determines the incredible diversity of colors, patterns, and behaviors we see across different species? How will they adapt to the rapidly changing environments of the Anthropocene epoch? Perhaps most importantly, how can we learn to see snakes not as creatures to be feared and eliminated, but as ancient survivors whose evolutionary wisdom could inform our own responses to global change? How can we move beyond centuries of cultural prejudice to appreciate these remarkable animals for what they truly are? Sophisticated predators, essential ecosystem components, and living libraries of biological innovation? In many ways, snakes represent evolution at its most creative and unexpected. They remind us that nature consistently finds solutions that human engineers would never have conceived. Who could have predicted that losing all four limbs would be an evolutionary advantage? Who would have imagined that a forked tongue could become a sophisticated chemical analysis system? Who could have foreseen that modified saliva could evolve into some of the most complex molecular weapons in the biological world? As we look toward an uncertain future marked by rapid environmental change, snakes serve simultaneously as indicators of ecosystem health and as essential components of ecological stability. Their presence in an environment signals healthy, functioning ecosystems with complex food webs and adequate habitat connectivity. Their absence often indicates environmental problems that ultimately affect all species, including humans. The interconnected nature of ecological systems means that snake conservation is never just about snakes. Protecting snake populations requires maintaining healthy prey communities, preserving habitat connectivity, controlling invasive species, and addressing the broader environmental challenges that threaten ecosystem integrity worldwide. The responsibility to ensure that future generations inherit a world where snakes continue to thrive rests with all of us. It requires not just the specialized work of conservation biologists and government agencies, but a fundamental shift in how we view our relationship with the natural world and our responsibilities as planetary citizens. Every time we encounter a snake, whether it's a harmless garden snake warming itself on a sunny pathway, a magnificent python exhibited in a nature center, or a venomous species photographed in a wildlife documentary, we're witnessing the living embodiment of one of evolution's greatest success stories. Behind those ancient, unblinking eyes lies the accumulated wisdom of 150 million years of evolutionary experience. The memories of vanished forests where their ancestors first began their remarkable transformation. The genetic echoes of survived extinctions that eliminated countless other lineages. The molecular record of conquered continents and colonized islands, of adapted strategies and evolved innovations. In their graceful, undulating movements, we see one of nature's most elegant solutions to the fundamental challenge of locomotion without limbs. In their sophisticated hunting strategies, we witness predatory excellence refined by millions of years of natural selection. In their remarkable diversity, we discover the infinite creativity of evolutionary processes when given sufficient time and opportunity. The Serpents' journey is far from over. In research laboratories and field stations around the world, in protected wilderness areas and urban environments, in the depths of the oceans and the heights of mountain ranges, snakes continue to evolve, adapt, and surprise us with their capabilities and resilience. They're adapting to urban environments in real time, developing new behaviors and physiological traits that allow them to thrive alongside human populations. They're recovering from near extinction through carefully managed conservation programs that demonstrate the power of scientific knowledge combined with human determination. They're revealing new secrets about fundamental biological processes that could revolutionize medicine, engineering, and our understanding of life itself. The next chapter of their story will be written by the choices we make today and in the years to come. Will we choose to see snakes as enemies to be eliminated or as partners in maintaining healthy ecosystems? Will we invest in the research and conservation efforts needed to protect their extraordinary diversity? Will we overcome our fears and prejudices to appreciate these remarkable creatures for their true value? The answers to these questions will determine not just the fate of individual snake species, but the health of entire ecosystems and the future of biodiversity on our planet. In protecting snakes, we protect the ongoing process of evolution itself, the greatest creative force in the universe and the source of all the beauty, complexity, and wonder that surrounds us. The serpent's journey continues, and we are privileged to witness it. Every snake alive today carries within its DNA the complete history of this incredible evolutionary odyssey. Every successful hunt, every successful mating, every offspring that survives to reproduce represents another step forward in a journey that has already lasted 150 million years and shows no signs of ending in their persistence. Through catastrophes that eliminated countless other lineages, in their adaptation to environments ranging from Arctic tundra to tropical rainforests, in their innovation of solutions to challenges that would stump human engineers, snakes demonstrate the fundamental resilience and creativity of life itself. They remind us that survival is not just about avoiding extinction. It's about embracing change, exploring new possibilities, and constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible. They show us that evolution is not a process that happened in the distant past, but a force that continues to shape life on Earth with every passing generation. The story of snake evolution is ultimately our story too. In their success, we see reflected our own potential for adaptation and innovation. In their persistence through global catastrophes, we find hope for our own species' future. In their remarkable journey from small forest lizards to sophisticated global predators, we discover new reasons to protect and cherish the natural world that sustains all life. This is the serpent's journey, an epic tale of transformation, persistence, and triumph that spans geological ages and continues to unfold before our eyes. It's a story without end, a testament to the boundless creativity of evolution, and a reminder that the most amazing chapters in the book of life are often yet to be written. As we conclude this exploration of 150 million years of snake evolution, we're reminded that every ending is also a beginning. The ancient survivors we've celebrated today will face new challenges tomorrow, and they will undoubtedly respond with the same creativity, flexibility, and determination that has characterized their entire evolutionary journey. The serpent's path stretches from the distant past into an unknowable future, and we are honored to walk alongside these remarkable creatures for this brief moment in geological time. In protecting their journey, we protect our own. In celebrating their success, we honor the fundamental forces that created and sustain all life on our extraordinary planet. Chapter 15. The Biomechanics of Purification. To truly appreciate the serpent's journey, we must delve deeper into the mechanical marvels that make snake locomotion one of evolution's most elegant solutions to the challenge of movement. The physics and engineering principles underlying snake movement have inspired decades of research and continue to influence the development of new technologies. The fundamental challenge that snakes solved was how to generate forward propulsion without any appendages to push against the substrate. The solution involves creating traveling waves along the body that interact with environmental irregularities to produce net forward motion. This wave-like locomotion is surprisingly efficient, allowing snakes to achieve speeds comparable to many-limbed animals of similar size. The mathematical description of snake movement involves complex equations that describe the relationship between body curvature, muscle activation patterns, and environmental forces. Engineers studying these equations have discovered that snakes use near-optimal control strategies minimizing energy expenditure while maximizing speed and maneuverability. The Fing muscular system that powers snake locomotion is a masterpiece of biological engineering. Snakes possess more individual muscles than any other vertebrate group, with some species having over 800 distinct muscle segments along their bodies. These muscles are organized into complex patterns that allow for incredible precision. In movement control, the spine of a snake represents one of the most sophisticated articulated structures in the biological world. With up to 400 vertebrae, each connected by multiple joints, the snake's backbone can bend in ways that seem to defy the laws of physics. Yet each joint has specific limits that prevent damage while allowing maximum flexibility. The scales that cover a snake's body aren't just protective armor, they're sophisticated friction control devices. The microscopic structure of snake scales can be adjusted to increase or decrease friction with different surfaces, allowing snakes to grip when they need traction and slide when they need to reduce resistance. Recent biomechanical studies have revealed that different snake species use subtly different locomotion strategies, optimized for their specific environments and body proportions. Arboreal snakes have different muscle activation patterns than terrestrial species, while aquatic snakes have evolved unique adaptations for generating thrust in water. The energy efficiency of snake locomotion is remarkable. Measurements of oxygen consumption during movement show that snakes use significantly less energy per unit distance traveled than most other animals. This efficiency has been crucial to their evolutionary success, allowing them to survive in environments where food is scarce. The control systems that coordinate snake movement are equally impressive. The snake's nervous system must coordinate the activity of hundreds of muscle segments while continuously adjusting for changing environmental conditions. This requires sophisticated neural circuits that integrate sensory information with motor commands in real time. The study of snake biomechanics has practical applications beyond pure science. Understanding how snakes generate and control their movement is informing the design of new types of robots, medical devices, and industrial equipment. Snake-inspired robots are being developed for applications ranging from search and rescue operations to space exploration. The materials science of snake skin continues to yield insights for technological applications. The unique properties of snake skin, flexible yet strong, smooth yet capable of high friction when needed, are inspiring the development of new synthetic materials for medical devices, sportswear, and industrial applications. The sensory integration required for snake locomotion involves processing information from multiple sources simultaneously. Snakes must integrate visual cues, tactile feedback, proprioceptive information about body position, and chemical signals while maintaining coordinated movement patterns. This level of sensory-motor integration rivals that of any animal. The evolutionary optimization of snake locomotion represents a remarkable example of natural engineering. Over millions of years, natural selection has fine-tuned every aspect of snake movement, from the molecular structure of muscle proteins to the large-scale coordination of body segments. The result is a system of almost mechanical perfection. The physics of snake swimming reveals additional layers of complexity. Aquatic snakes must generate thrust against a fluid medium while maintaining stability and directional control. The hydrodynamics of snake swimming involve vortex generation and pressure wave propagation that are only beginning to be understood. The mechanics of snake climbing involve specialized adaptations for moving on vertical surfaces and through three-dimensional environments. Arboreal snakes have evolved unique muscle arrangements and movement patterns that allow them to bridge gaps between branches and navigate complex canopy environments with remarkable agility. The biomechanics of venom delivery represent another pinnacle of evolutionary engineering. The strike of a venomous snake involves accelerations that approach the physical limits of biological systems, while the precision of venom injection rivals that of the most sophisticated medical syringes. The study of snake biomechanics is revealing fundamental principles about how complex biological systems achieve optimal performance. These insights are contributing to advances in robotics, material science, and control theory that extend far beyond the study of snakes themselves. Chapter 16: Ancient Ecosystems and Coevolution. Evolutionary history of snakes cannot be understood in isolation. It's a story of coevolution with prey, predators, and entire ecosystems that spans more than 150 million years. Each major transition in snake evolution was both a response to and a driver of changes in the broader biological world. The initial evolution of snakes in Mesozoic forests coincided with the diversification of small mammals, birds, and other potential prey groups. As these prey animals evolved new escape strategies, snakes evolved counter-adaptations, creating evolutionary arms races that drove innovation on both sides. The relationship between snakes and their mammalian prey has been particularly influential in shaping both groups. As mammals evolved larger size, more sophisticated defensive behaviors, and social structures that provided protection against predators, snakes responded by developing more potent venoms, more powerful constriction abilities, and more sophisticated hunting strategies. The coevolution of snakes and their avian prey presents fascinating examples of predator-prey dynamics. Ground-nesting birds evolved elaborate camouflage and distraction displays to protect their eggs and young from snake predators, while snakes developed enhanced chemical sensing abilities to locate hidden nests and improved climbing abilities to reach arboreal nests. The evolutionary relationship between venomous snakes and their prey has resulted in some of the most potent biological weapons on Earth. Venom evolution is driven by the need to quickly incapacitate prey that might otherwise escape or inflict damage during struggles. As prey animals evolved physiological defenses against toxins, snakes evolved more potent and diverse venom cocktails. The coevolution of snakes with their own predators has shaped many aspects of snake biology. Defensive behaviors like threat displays, warning coloration, and mimicry all evolved in response to predation pressure from birds of prey, mammals, and other snakes. The evolution of cryptic coloration and secretive behaviors reflects the constant threat of predation throughout snake evolutionary history. The relationship between snakes and the plant communities they inhabit is more complex than might be apparent. While snakes don't eat plants directly, they play crucial roles in shaping plant communities through their effects on herbivorous mammals and seed-dispersing animals. In some ecosystems, snakes are keystone species whose presence or absence dramatically affects vegetation patterns. Ancient climate fluctuations created opportunities and challenges that drove snake evolution in new directions. The expansion and contraction of forests, grasslands, and deserts repeatedly fragmented and reunited snake populations, promoting speciation and adaptive radiation. Each climate cycle created new ecological opportunities that different snake lineages exploited in different ways. The fossil record reveals that ancient snake communities were often more diverse than modern ones. Some Paleocene and Eocene ecosystems supported over a dozen species of large constrictors, far more than any contemporary ecosystem. This ancient diversity suggests that snake communities can achieve much higher levels of species packing than we see today. The evolution of snake reproductive strategies has been shaped by interactions with environmental factors and other species. Egg-laying species had to evolve in response to threats from egg predators, while live-bearing species evolved in environments where egg survival was particularly challenging. The diversity of snake reproductive strategies reflects the variety of ecological challenges they faced. The role of snakes in ancient food webs was often very different from their role today. Some extinct snake species were apex predators in their ecosystems, filling ecological roles that are now occupied by large mammals or birds. Understanding these ancient ecological relationships provides insights into how ecosystems function and how they might respond to future changes. The coevolution of snakes with their internal parasites and pathogens has been an ongoing process throughout snake evolutionary history. Snakes have evolved sophisticated immune systems that must defend against a wide variety of disease organisms. All pathogens have evolved strategies for overcoming snake defenses. This invisible evolutionary arms race continues to shape snake biology today. The evolution of snake social behaviors has been influenced by ecological factors including resource distribution, predation pressure, and seasonal environmental changes. Species that evolved in environments with patchy resource distribution often develop different social structures than those in more uniform environments. The relationship between snakes and human societies has ancient roots that predate written history. Archaeological evidence suggests that humans have had complex relationships with snakes for tens of thousands of years, viewing them as both threats and sources of spiritual power. These relationships have influenced both human cultural evolution and, more recently, snake conservation. The ecological roles of extinct snake species provide important context for understanding modern snake communities. Giant constrictors like Titanoboa played ecological roles that have no modern equivalent, and their extinction left ecological vacancies that were never completely filled by other predators. The evolution of island snake communities provides natural experiments in adaptive radiation and ecological specialization. When snakes colonized isolated islands, they often evolved in directions that would be impossible on continents where they face competition from other predators. These island evolutionary experiments have produced some of the most unusual snake species known to science. The coevolutionary relationships between snakes and their prey continue to evolve today. Urban environments are creating new predator-prey dynamics as both snakes and their prey adapt to human-modified landscapes. These contemporary evolutionary processes provide opportunities to study coevolution in real time. The study of ancient ecosystems reveals that snake diversity has waxed and waned throughout geological time in response to major environmental changes. Understanding these historical patterns is crucial for predicting how current environmental changes might affect future snake diversity and ecosystem function. The complex web of relationships that connects snakes to their broader ecological communities demonstrates that conservation efforts must consider entire ecosystems rather than individual species in isolation. Protecting snakes requires protecting the prey they depend on, the habitats they need, and the ecological processes that maintain ecosystem health. Evolution comes to an end. We find ourselves not at a conclusion, but at a new beginning. The story we've told, from small lizards in Mesozoic forest to the sophisticated predators that share our modern world, is really just one chapter in an ongoing evolutionary epic that continues to unfold around us every day. Today's 4,000 snake species represent the most diverse assemblage of serpents that has ever existed on Earth, from the tiny thread snakes that could curl up in a teaspoon to the massive reticulated pythons that can overpower crocodiles, from the lightning-fast to striking vipers to the patient constrictors. Snakes have explored virtually every possible approach to being a successful predator. The innovations they've developed along the way read like a catalog of engineering marvels. Joints that can dislocate without damage, venom delivery systems more precise than any human-designed syringe, sensory organs that can detect prey in complete darkness, and muscular systems that can generate crushing forces while maintaining incredible flexibility. But perhaps the most important lesson from the Serpent's journey isn't about snakes at all. It's about the power of adaptation, persistence, and innovation in the face of seemingly impossible challenges. Snakes have survived asteroid impacts, ice ages, and mass extinctions not through size or strength, but through flexibility, efficiency, and an almost infinite capacity for evolutionary creativity. Today, as we face our own global challenges, climate change, biodiversity loss, and environmental degradation, the snake story offers both inspiration and practical guidance. Their remarkable adaptability reminds us that evolution is an ongoing process, not a finished product, and that life finds ways to persist and thrive even under the most challenging circumstances. The future of snakes is inextricably linked with our own choices as a species. In parks and gardens, in protected wilderness areas, and even in our cities, snakes continue to play their ancient role as pest controllers and ecosystem regulators. They ask for nothing more than space to exist and the opportunity to pursue their evolutionary destiny. The tools of modern science are revealing new secrets about these remarkable creatures almost daily. Each discovery, whether it's a new species in a remote rainforest, a novel venom compound with medical potential, or insights into the genetic basis of limblessness, adds another piece to the vast puzzle of snake evolution. A new generation of researchers, armed with technologies that would have seemed like magic to earlier generations of naturalists, is poised to unlock even more secrets of snake biology. The questions they're asking: how do snakes age? Can they regenerate damaged tissues? What determines their incredible diversity of colors and patterns? Will shape our understanding for decades to come. In many ways, snakes represent evolution at its most creative and unexpected. They remind us that there are always multiple solutions to life's challenges, and that sometimes the most elegant answer is also the most surprising. Who would have predicted that losing limbs could be an evolutionary advantage, or that a forked tongue could become a sophisticated chemical sensor? As we look toward an uncertain future marked by rapid environmental change, snakes serve as both indicators of ecosystem health and essential components of ecological stability. Their presence signals healthy, functioning ecosystems, while their absence often indicates environmental problems that affect all species, including humans. Perhaps most importantly, the story of snake evolution reminds us to approach the natural world with wonder rather than fear, curiosity rather than prejudice. These ancient survivors have earned their place on Earth through 150 million years of successful adaptation. They deserve our respect, our protection, and our continued fascination. The Serpent's journey is far from over. In laboratories and field sites around the world, snakes continue to surprise us with their capabilities and resilience. They're adapting to urban environments, recovering from near extinction, and revealing new secrets about the fundamental processes of life itself. Who knows what the next chapter of their story will bring? Perhaps we'll discover new forms of locomotion that inspire revolutionary transportation technologies. Maybe we'll unlock venom compounds that cure diseases we currently consider incurable. Or possibly we'll witness evolutionary changes happening in real time as snakes adapt to our rapidly changing world. But for any of these possibilities to be realized, snakes must survive the challenges of the present. This requires not just the work of conservation biologists and government agencies, but a fundamental shift in how we view our relationship with these remarkable creatures. Every time we encounter a snake, whether it's a harmless garden snake warming itself on a sunny rock or a magnificent python displayed in a nature documentary, we're looking at the living embodiment of one of evolution's greatest success stories. We're seeing creatures that have mastered the art of survival without ever compromising their essential serpentine nature. The next time you see a snake, take a moment to appreciate the incredible journey that brought it to that moment. Behind those ancient eyes lies the accumulated wisdom of 150 million years of evolution, the memory of vanished forests, survived extinctions, and conquered continents. In its graceful movements, you're witnessing one of nature's most perfect solutions to the challenge of life without limbs. The serpent's journey continues, and we are privileged to witness it. In protecting snakes, we protect not just individual species, but the ongoing process of evolution itself, the greatest story ever told, and one that's still being written. Every snake alive today carries within its DNA the complete history of this remarkable evolutionary journey. From the first lizards that began to elongate their bodies in Mesozoic forests, to the sophisticated predators that navigate our modern world, the serpent's story is written in genes and expressed in every graceful curve of their bodies. As we stand at this moment in Earth's history, facing unprecedented challenges and opportunities, the snakes remind us that adaptation and survival are not just possible, but inevitable for those willing to embrace change. They've shown us that losing what seems essential, like limbs, can lead to gaining something even more valuable, like the ability to move through any environment with liquid grace. The serpent's journey is our journey too. In their success, we see reflected our own potential for adaptation and innovation. In their persistence through mass extinctions and climate changes, we find hope for our own species' future. And in their remarkable diversity and beauty, we discover new reasons to protect and cherish the natural world that sustains us all. The story of snake evolution teaches us that life is not just about survival. It's about innovation, creativity, and the endless exploration of new possibilities. Snakes have spent 150 million years perfecting the art of being a serpent, and they're not finished yet. This is the serpent's journey, a story without end, a testament to the power of evolution, and a reminder that in the great book of life, the most amazing chapters are often yet to be written.